What's up, guys? So it is August and there is not a better time of the year to throw a drop shot for smallmouth bass, especially this time of year when the bite gets extra finicky and smallmouth get tough to catch. So guys, tune in, let's get after it. All right, that wasn't so bad. We got through it. Actually, that was pretty fun. Right now is the time frame where you're like jacked to be back and like actually putting 100% effort into it damn near. So that was a good workout today. The gym was actually kind of packed. Like there's a lot of people there, which isn't, well, actually wait, today's Monday, so that is actually kind of typical for a Monday, but we got a busy day ahead of us, folks. So we're gonna go home, gonna shower quick, get everything ready. Got to get the boat out, and we got to get, what else do we got to do? Got to get our tackle ready for tonight, but I'm gonna get everything ready to roll, and then we're gonna go fishing today. We're just gonna go and try and catch some smallmouth and practice a little bit of scoping. So it's end of August right now, and the bite has been pretty mediocre. Some lakes have put out and some lakes haven't for us. There he goes. Took a minute. Do I even have this? The one that I'm looking at, I don't even know if I have a hook. It's a good one. Look at that thing. That's a freaking pie, dude. Had one drop down to it. That might be a mega. I don't know where he is. I haven't caught him yet. Let's see what this guy is. He's a good one. He's not a bad one. We'll take him. Oh, you guys, this is a pretty good one. He's not bad. Oh, another one joined in. That's a big one too. Gosh, these smallmouth fight so hard, dude. And you're using a medium light rod, so they're really hard to wrangle up here. They can pretty much do whatever they want when you're using this light of tackle. Oh, just like that. Freaking pie. Right to the snout, right where it's supposed to be. I'll show you guys this hook set. If you guys look where that hook is, just perfect. Right where it's supposed to be. So, sweet. There we go. Hanging on by a thread. By a freaking thread. It seemed like once this wind picked up, man, it got way better. That was awesome. Got that like nowhere that it wanted to be. I got a little guy. He's tiny. Jesus. This one is a freaking warrior. Good Lord. He jumped like 10 feet in the air. What? Little guy. There we go. Another good one. All right, that was a little bit of a battle for that. He ain't a giant, but he ate it like right away. I'm a swimmer. He's not a terrible one though. We'll take him. Oh geez, he brought up like 4 of them with him too. God, he is just on freaking steroids, dude. Gotcha. little peanut, but we'll take them. Just a little guy, but oh, are we gonna peel on these things today? Hope so. Hope so. So drop shotting can be one of the most effective way to get really picky fish to bite. Now, especially when they're keyed in to really small bait. So the lake that I'm on today, I'm smallmouth fishing, and as you guys could see in some of the video, there was a lot of perch getting spit up about this big. And so drop shotting can really be an effective way to fish these fish, especially if they want the bait sitting in front of them. Now, a lot of times when you're fishing smallmouth bass, you know, throwing a moving bait can be kind of dangerous if you're trying to get more than one bite out of the school, especially if they're really in that chase mode. So today, that's one thing that I noticed. Even though they were eating all that small bait, I did have problems with the swim bait because every time I would throw it, it would call up the entire school and I'd be busted pretty much, and then they would quit biting. So I had to figure out a way where I could put a bait in front of them, mimic those small perch, put a bait in front of them and not let it go anywhere. And that was what the major ticket was today. So drop shot is extremely effective. You know, utilize that forward facing sonar, get on a school fish and know exactly what it is that they want. We wanted to put something really small in front of their faces that they couldn't resist, and that's where I picked up the drop shot. Now, there's a couple different things that you can do to trigger more bites, and one thing that I noticed when I was fishing today is a lot of the fish were up in the water column pretty high. And so what I like to do whenever I see that type of stuff is I like to use a longer lead with the drop shot. So we might have close to like 2 feet on this thing. And what that does is it gets that bait even higher up into the water column. So that's number one, a long lead. You don't always have to have a long lead. Like, that's not the only way that I fish it. But today, from where I seen the fish in the water column and the way that they're swimming around and chasing stuff, I really thought that that extra long leader is gonna get me quite a few more bites, which I think it did. Now, the next thing is gonna be the rod that you're using. One of the big key things to drop shotting is, number one, you're using a finesse hook most likely. And so you need the right rod that's gonna handle the fish right. And you don't want too stiff of a rod because you're gonna bust a lot of fish off. This rod is a medium light 7-foot rod with a really, really moderate action on it. And I want that parabolic bend so that when I set the hook, it's more of a finesse set and not of a snap set, ripping that bait out of the fish's mouth. I think that that's really important when you're throwing a drop shot, is gonna be having the right rod and reel. Let's talk a little bit about the hook. So the hook that I'm using today, this is a VMC. It's a VMC drop shot hook, essentially. It's a smaller, undersized hook, and then I have a Somatis shot on that thing. And that Somatis shot's key because it's really little. And the color that I'm using is Bingo. Bingo is a freaking sweet color. It's my favorite color for these drop shot baits. You know, like I said, man, light tackle is super important. I used to like to drop shot right under the boat, like literally right there. And I stopped doing that ever since forward facing sonar came out. So I really think that having a shorter rod is a thing of the past. You know, I know a lot of guys that drop shot with like a 6'9", 6'10" rod. I don't think that you need to do that anymore. I personally use a 7-foot medium light, and I think that that's the best way to handle these fish. You know, 6'10" was cool when you could drop shot right below the boat and they would still eat it. But nowadays, I just don't think they eat it good enough under the boat to where it's a good idea to have that thing so dang close. So that's kind of my drop shot and setup. And then the reel that I'm using is a Dio Fuego 4000 LT with 10-pound test Daiwa J-braid and then 10-pound test Daiwa Samurai fluorocarbon. So that's my setup for drop shotting. And then the biggest thing, like I said, guys, is to know when you're gonna wanna use the drop shot. And I really think that, you know, this is specifically for smallmouth bass. This isn't how I would run a largemouth setup, especially around grass. You know, so I'd upsize that hook and do things just a little bit differently. So this is for smallmouth bass. This is how I like to run it. I like these smaller hooks for I like these smaller drop shot hooks for when I'm catching smallmouth bass. I just think that it gets in there really good. I can use smaller size baits like these tiny somatic shots, and I don't thread the whole thing on. Another thing too is if you're using like a small paddle tail for drop shotting, another thing is you could always bump up into that number 2 Nico hook that VMC makes, but I think that when you thread that bait on all the way, especially for like a swimmer style bait or swim bait style drop shot bait, I think that you don't get as much action on the bait and it doesn't let the bait flow as freely. So if you see how that's on, you know, I just nose hooked this bait and then it just sits on just like that. So, you know, I like drop shotting the Somatic Shot, the Berkley Max scent. Every now and then, I was using this a little bit today too. I was using the Megabass Hazadong. That's a great drop shotting bait, but realistically, drop shotting nowadays for me is more of a sharpshooting technique. It's not as much as a, you know, go find fish technique or, you know, cover water technique. It's definitely more of a, I see a fish right there, I want to throw on it. Talk a little bit about the weight. So weights are different depending on the angler. You know, I like, right now, today, I haven't really left 10 feet of water. I've been in 10 feet of water like all day, basically chasing these smallmouth, and I really don't need a heavy weight. Sometimes I think that heavyweight spooks them. Sometimes I don't think that they want it falling so fast at them because it just makes them disappear. So, you know, I feel out the situation today, but I would always go to the heaviest weight that you can get away with, always, because that's just gonna get the bait down to the fish faster. It's gonna make your casts more accurate when you're standing up on your trolling motor, throwing out to them. It's for sure gonna make that bait get down there quicker and not move as much or pendulum swing as much in the water when you throw it on them. You know, drop shotting in 20 plus feet of water, I would probably use like a 3/8 to a 3/4 ounce weight. And you know, 10 feet or less or 15 feet or less, I'm running anything between a, you know, a 1/8 to a 1/4 ounce. It really depends on the bite, but definitely feel that out because, you know, there might be situations where you're on the water and the fish, every time you throw a drop shot bait on them, they're running from it. Well, that should tell you one or two things. Either A, it's a bait change, or B, it's a weight change. That takes some playing around with it a little bit. You gotta kind of get, it's a feel-good situation. You kind of gotta get comfortable with how to make that call. But that's kind of my drop shot and story and just how I like to drop shot smallmouth bass, man. It is definitely really effective. And over the years, I've definitely gotten a lot more bites, you know, really messing with that tag end length on the drop shot weight. You know, getting it a little bit higher, a little bit taller definitely does make a big difference. So definitely play around with that, play around with the length, play around with your weight size, and things are gonna look up for you. Guys, I am starting to book up for September. If you guys want a trip out on the pond, September's a great time to do it. Definitely shoot me a private message. All the rods and reels and tackle in the video will be listed down below. I appreciate you guys watching these videos. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do it or don't. Either way, we appreciate your guys' view. And until next time, boys, you know where you'll find me on the water. We got